Entrepreneurs create jobs. I'm an entrepreneur and I do my best to create jobs. But the reality is, in order to become a billionaire, the one thing you have to have is luck. Any billionaire who tells you they can just do it again, no. You have to be lucky. Maybe you have a rich parent. Save your money first. Don't just leave unless you know what the hell you're doing. We hear all these stories about all these people who quit their job, started a company, and made all this money. What you don't hear are the stories of the people who quit their job, started a company, and failed miserably, and are now working at a job they hate. Before you quit, be prepared, know what you're doing, save your money, have at least 6 months to live off if you can, and then maybe you're ready to start your business.
One of the guys that is a billionaire, but also spent some time with Warren Buffett, had a story about how he went to dinner with Warren. So he goes to dinner with Warren, and he's like, I have 400 questions for Warren, because I'm worth this, and he's worth this, and I'm all excited, and so I fly there, and I go and sit down for dinner, and he's like, I couldn't ask him a question because he just kept asking me questions. All he did the whole time was pick my brain on what I thought here, what I thought there. And he had basically gotten all this information from me and I had gotten. And he's like, and so he's met a couple other people that know him too. And he's like, the smartest, richest people I know ask the most questions and try to prove their intelligence the least, because they know that the ones who collect the most knowledge have the biggest unfair advantage.
I live my life in such a way that when I, in a quiet moment of reflection, and I'm thinking back on my life, that I have as few regrets as possible.
You know, my poor dad was an academic type. He was a PhD, which stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. He's a smart guy. He was in school all the time. He knew all the answers to everything. But he didn't know anything about this yet. And my rich dad was a man who had no school, and he ran the family store. So as a boy of 13, he began learning about money. And he started saying, he says, the mistake is our schools teach us to work for this.
I put a lot of stock and certainly have a lot of respect for someone who puts in an honest day's work to do useful things. And just generally to have like not a zero-sum mindset, or have more of a grow the pie mindset.
I've learned in disrupting industries, when an industry's been doing it the same way for decades, that's one green flag for me to get in. When that same industry does everything possible to complicate the business so no one else can get in, that's a second green flag for me to get involved. Third, when it's so complicated, but when you look at it, it's like, this is a simple business. You know what the prescription drug business really is? Somebody makes the drugs, somebody buys the drugs, someone prescribes the drugs, someone sells the drugs. That is it. That's the whole prescription drug industry. And so when I saw that, I'm like, this shit's gonna be easy. Not cheap, but easy to do. And so we started costplusdrugs.com in January of 2022. When there's an industry that's doing it the same way forever, making things more complicated, and everybody hates them, that is the best place to start a business.
With your loved ones, you bet on them. You're not betting on the idea. You are betting on the person, and that was and it's one of those decisions I made with my heart and not my head. And I basically said, I don't want to regret. When I'm 80, now 90, I want to have minimized the number of regrets that I have in my life. And most of our regrets are acts of omission. They're things we didn't try. It's the path untraveled. Those are the things that haunt us.
It wouldn't exist without me.
It wouldn't exist without you. So,
I came up with a name. The name OpenAI refers to open source. So the intent was, what was the opposite? What's the opposite of Google? Would be an open source nonprofit, because Google is closed source for profit. I also think it's important to understand when push comes to shove. Let's say they do create some digital superintelligence, almost godlike intelligence. Well, who's in control? And what exactly is the relationship between OpenAI and Microsoft? And I do worry that Microsoft actually may be more in control than, say, the leadership team at OpenAI realizes. Microsoft, as part of Microsoft's investment, they have rights to all of the software, all of the model weights, and everything necessary to run the inference system.
So they essentially have a great deal of control.
At any point, Microsoft could cut off OpenAI.
If humility means that you know the edge of your own competency,
Yes.
and you aren't arrogantly stepping over the boundary. I'm very good at that.
Yeah, well, I'd redefine humility as knowing what you don't know.
Yes, well, both Warren and I are very good at that.
Try to be useful. Do things that are useful to your fellow human beings, to the world. It's very hard to be useful. Very hard. Are you contributing more than you consume? Can you try to have a positive net contribution to society? So you really want to make sure you're not operating without realizing it from a zero-sum mindset, where the only way to get ahead is to take things from others. Then that's going to result in you trying to take things from others, which is not good. It's much better to work on adding to the economic pie.